technology lady. I know.
Exactly. Hi, Kristin. How are you today?
Hi, Michelle. I'm fantastic. How's
Good.
it
I'm
going?
so glad. Now we're on take two because we have
Yep.
some audio problems, but this is going to be even better. So I am so excited to be joined by Kristin Morris Kahle, or I think we call her now Kristin Kahle. However, she is the vice president of Morris Group International, and she runs two divisions of Morris Group International. She is actually, are you the third generation or fourth generation running through this company?
I'm third generation, Michelle.
Third generation. That's a pretty big deal. So Kristin and I are lucky enough to know each other for, is it 30 years?
Yeah, I know. Let's not count, Michelle.
Exactly. Not to scare everybody, but it's about 30 years. And I apologize because my gardener is in the background, so you can hear that blower going. However, Kristin and I were sorority sisters at USC, the University of Southern California, and I've been lucky enough to follow her trajectory through this company. And I wanted her to come on because, I like to feature all different types of people. And honestly, she is a woman in a male dominated industry. And if a woman can make it in this type of industry, then I'm telling you, she's got to be very special. And that I know to be true. So, like we were saying, she's third generation. She runs two divisions. She runs Whitehall Manufacturing, which is it's a commercial plumbing company, but we're not talking like tiny little contracts. We're talking about huge government contracts. And Whitehall is healthcare specifically, and she's now doing behavioral healthcare. And secondly, she also is running a division called Neo Metro, which she actually founded and started for this company. And that is the hospitality industry. And so those are actually hotels, like big hotels, I would say. And so Kristin is super amazing and interesting. And I wanted you to meet her because she's super special to me. And I just want her to keep being the amazing, successful person that she is. So, Kristin, first, can you take them through a little bit about your background?
Sure. My background, Michelle, when I met you, I was getting a marketing degree. So I have marketing communications, but business too. So it's mixed in there. And at my company, I worked here for a couple of years and went back for a master's in business. So that's my schooling. But of course, schooling's not everything.
Absolutely not.
My practical world, I have grown up with commercial plumbing all my life. So didn't think I'd actually be here 28 years later still working in it. But I marvel at it each day and find something new to do. So kind of interesting. So.
But how did that all happen? Like, was it one of these situations where, you just fell into it, or your dad said, hey, now that you've finished business school, you need to come and work at the family company, which I know I had to go through that because I had trouble finding a job. I think the current graduates are in a similar situation we were in the 90s when we graduated, where there weren't a lot of jobs. So
yeah, no, it was that way. So during growing up, because my family would take vacations and no one would hire me if we're not going to be around for 4 or 5 weeks during the summer, I wanted to have the normal job of, can I go just work at the grocery store or something? But no, I worked at the company ever since I was actually 8. And my first job here was putting felt on pipe hangers. And I swore I would never do that again. I also worked at the greaser. I worked in purchasing, but I didn't realize that I had worked in so many departments that it really later would help.
yeah,
Because I do have empathy for what some of these people do work on and what they do. But yeah, no, I never thought I worked for family business. Growing up with it, really had to explain that my dad makes toilets. That was not a good thing in 3rd grade. Like my kids have to now. Like, ooh, look at my mom. Oh gosh, no, not a fire. Yeah, it's just funny. But how I fell in it really is I was working at an ad agency in downtown Los Angeles after college. and I was launching a product line called Brita. So it's the water filtration company.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's a funny story with that comes back to us a little bit. But my grandfather called me and wanted me to come to lunch to that day. And he was kind of a stern person, but a good person, really had a big heart. And he's like, "What are you doing right now? You go and have lunch with me." And I'm like, "But I can't, I'm working, Grandpa." And he goes, "Working? What do you mean you're working?"
Used to actually have lunches.
Yeah, exactly. We'd go out for this free martini lunch. Yeah, Mad Men. So finally I did go to dinner with him, and he sat me down and he's like, "What are you doing? What are you doing with the rest of your life? And you have to give me 2 years,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I ended up driving a mobile showroom across the United States and across Canada and all the provinces, they call them, or provinces, which they call them projects.
Yes.
And sleeping in the van and having all kinds of crazy stories at truck stops.
Did you drive it by yourself?
I did.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that. For all the years I've known you, for 30 plus years, and I didn't know you drove across the country in Canada. That's crazy.
Oh yeah, for 2 years. What I would do is I would go to a territory, work with our local representative, and I go around and visit engineers. We get things specified. So architects that time, and facilities. So and I did a lot of training. Here I was, 23 years old, and a lot of grumpy guys, but yeah. So makes you grow up pretty fast.
So tell me about that, because we know that a lot of women sometimes struggle with being the authority when they're working with men, and in a situation where you're dealing with probably engineers and other laborers that are, say, for example, plumbers, like, how did you address it? Like, how did you endear yourself to them?
Yeah, it's hard because they first see, especially, can you imagine me going to New York and, New York contractor, what's this woman doing here? Yeah.
Exactly, totally.
And I have to go by Chris sometimes, and unlike Kristin.
I know.
And I'll show up and they're like, "It's a woman."
I know, right? Exactly.
Yeah, but honestly, you have to prove yourself, and you have to prove yourself so much, it's so much harder. And you really have to be an authority, and you have to know your shit,
Absolutely.
That's kind of the whole thing. And they'll test you on it, and they'll be tough on you. But my thing is perseverance. And I've always, even if I don't know something, I'm pretty authentic about that. And I go, "You know what? I really don't know. And I'm not going to come off as I do know, but I will find the answer for you. And I'm going to try to find the answer quickly." So
yeah. And do you find that they're patient in receiving that information, or do you find that then they're like, "Oh, she's not that smart, I'm going on to the next"? Interesting.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So you have to keep, that drippy faucet on some of them. I've had some contractors over the years that just, "Oh no, it's just," and then, but it's funny because you gain a reputation. And I've always been one that I didn't want to burn any bridges.
Mm-hmm.
So I was always pretty nice to everybody.
Well, that's your gift. Your gift is actually connecting with people, finding the connection. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's kind of like you, Michelle. So connecting the bridges. And once you meet one person, and then they connect you to another person, and you kind of go from there. And then you create a reputation for yourself, and then they'll back you up if you prove that you can do it,
that you're worthy. Yeah. And you can't back down. I mean, you have to be willing to go the extra mile to show them, right? So
you do. So, you can't be a wimp. No, I'm going to say no.
We don't need any wimpies. No, that doesn't. And by the way, that's actually something similar that we both have too, is that we have trouble sometimes showing our weakness because we don't want to appear weak, right? Probably by some of the things that we've been around, but
sure.
How we've had to endure it. So tell me, so you did that for 2 years, and then what happened?
2 years, and then I started doing the marketing for our company naturally. Our collateral was, circa 1970. Think about plumbing. It was very interesting.
Yes, exactly.
Kind of like, maybe not. Thank goodness we changed some of that because it was very inappropriate.
I'm sure.
Very male dominant. Yeah, it's funny. Yeah. You'd laugh at some of the collateral, but just started getting into that and running some marketing. And then one day, actually, one of my sales guys got a call in 1998 from the Wall Street Journal. And he's like, what? You know, we're a plumbing company. Wall Street Journal's on the phone. What do they want to do with us? You know, I mean, like, my guy's like almost like, should I hang up on him? What should I do?
You're like,
I'm
no,
don't hang up on the Wall Street Journal. So they ended up doing an article on us. Actually, there was an architect down in San Diego who had put prison fixtures, stainless steel prison fixtures, in his high-end house in San Diego. Okay. And he liked them because they're aesthetic, but yet they were cleanability, you know, a factor, and just it was avant-garde. And so we ended up getting phone calls off the hook the next day. I want the stainless steel toilet. I want the stainless steel sink. I want the stuff they use in prison. And I'm like, and trying to field all those calls was really daunting. Yeah. So yeah, I really thought we're onto something. And so in the plumbing world, you can't just take something that you put in a prison, hospital, airport into a house. I won't get into it here, but plumbing's different. And so we had to adapt and retrofit it for the residential market. So we did. And that's how Neo Metro kind of was spawned, is taking this product that was really institutional and, you know, making it go residential.
Wow. But you do other things, do you do glass as well? Or is it all stainless? Because sometimes I see some of the stuff you post about. It's all super high end, like modern, contemporary fixtures, correct?
Yeah, I was modern before modern was cool. Really.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's true. I mean,
yeah, it was kind of funny.
Sort of led the way.
So the first material we work in is stainless steel, first and foremost. That's kind of what I know the best. And then I needed to show different materials to work with. So got into cast resins. So in bio resins, we also do terrazzo. So we do cement work. Yeah. So we have injection molding. We do all kinds of different things over here. So kind of fascinating, actually, still to this day. I love it now that we actually make things. And we make them here in Southern California, which is very unusual.
Amazing. Yeah. So does that mean that there are smaller quantities, or because since you're commercial, right? Commercial meaning like larger quantities generally, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
We do both. So Neo Metro was more the boutique-y, one-off. You know, I make custom products for them. I make molds. A lot of times I'll have the architects and designers actually come to our shop. And this is the fun part for me, is I'll go out in the shop with them. And although they drive some of my guys crazy too, they're like, oh, they don't understand. They don't know what they want. It's, you know, some homeowner woman. Oh my gosh, you know.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
I can imagine.
But then we work on large projects. So sometimes something boutique-y, for example, you know, a high-end boutique hotel, it goes, that's pretty cool. Yeah, exactly. And I want to replicate that, and I'm going to do 80 rooms or 300 rooms, you know, then we can handle it. So
yeah. So tell me a little bit about the process of deciding to kind of move in that direction, because it was initially like rather foreign, like, so it's like basically like if, you know, our audience was to look at like an expansion plan, right? That you're kind of taking something that you were known for, like more like commercial, non-high end, like more, what would you call that, mass, right? But like,
yeah,
like prisons, like you were saying, right? And like I remember being down at the beach in Santa Monica, and I'd see Acorn Manufacturing, and it would be like all of your fixtures, right?
Yep.
And so you decide that you're going to move into a more high-end demographic and market. Like, how do you go about doing that? I mean, I have an understanding, but I want to hear it from you.
Sure. No. Well, what started, it was really launching it with the Wall Street Journal, and then just saying, hey, we have a business model. We need to make it separate than our normal company. And that's where Neo Metro was spawned. The name, even Neo Metro, meant new and metro. And this is 1998, you know. And,
totally.
And I started just appealing to, because me, myself, I love to work with designers, and I love new product designs. And so I would get these architects from across the United States just calling me saying, I have this idea, can you make it? And so that's how we started coming up with SKUs and, you know, price lists, all that stuff, and making it on a product line. So yeah, it kind of grew from there.
So how many products do you have, like, from that? Like, how many SKUs do you have, like, in that particular area? Is
That
it?
was probably our smaller one, because I do so much custom. What happened is I was trying to make things that were just SKUs that I could replicate over and over, but really what the beauty of it is that everyone wants something custom. And
Interesting.
so we kind of took the SKUs away now, and all we do is custom in that end.
Oh, that's
So
cool.
yeah, I'll make any type of, the biggest thing I always tell everyone, my constraints are that 144 feet and the room. A lot of times they have to build around us. So a big
Yeah.
tub, or, I'll make double wall insulated tubs, or these huge resin countertops, or, stainless steel countertops. So yeah, it's always working with the contractors, trying to figure out how we're going to get on the job site and they're not going to ruin it. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow. So obviously you believe in ingenuity and you believe in like basically recreating and coming up with new things. But so, we talked about in the very beginning that this is a third generation company, right? That you basically came into this, it's actually fourth generation, right?
Third.
Third. So,
I'm third.
so
My kids are
why I
fourth.
keep
No,
on-
no kidding. They're like, oh no,
because
mom.
there's 4 kids in your family. So it's a third generation company. And so my question for you is, a lot of times when you have to, even like, major corporations in America, like have to reinvent themselves constantly, but they get stuck in the same thing over and over again. Like, how do you as a leader consistently kind of lead the way for that within your company, knowing that certain things have existed for a long time?
Sure. No, they know I'm the crazy one around here. No. No, seriously, it's funny. So I work with, just full disclosure, my 2 brothers are here and my dad. And so I used to they're always like, oh, she's working with the architect, the interior designer, she's the color matcher, she's the, my brothers would work in fire protection, or, my other one,
Yeah.
and we all kind of had our roles and stuff. And now it's funny, they kind of bring me a lot more into product design. And we have to be innovative. So actually during COVID, this is kind of an interesting story, is that, we're known for these large projects and commercial projects. And we know during COVID, it all shut down.
Yeah.
So we do a lot of projects on the East Coast, these big East Coast projects, even here in California. And job sites just, shut down completely.
Exactly.
So we had to reinvent ourselves. You're going to laugh. So my brothers and I, we would go camping, and we would make these portable sinks to go camping with.
Oh my God.
And my dad actually one day saw it, and my brother kept trying to get this whole thing going, and we all thought it was kind of a good idea. And so during COVID, I hate this word, but we pivoted. Okay.
I know.
We ended up
using pivot.
changing our manufacturing, that was all geared up for these commercial bathrooms, put it all into portable bathrooms. And honestly, that's how we kept the lights on and the doors open. So
that's so cool. I wish actually that I was able to see a picture of it, just because it just sounds so cool. So it's like a stainless steel sink?
Yeah, I'll show. It's portable sink. Yeah, that you can move around. It's kind of like a beer keg underneath it, and you don't have to have plumbing. It just hooks up to a garden hose. You can wash your hands. So all the vaccine centers, we went after those in schools. And
by the way, I love that. I love that you basically came up with a whole new concept instead of just actually staying static and saying, oh, we're an established company. We could probably wait, like a year. We didn't know.
No, they can't wait. Exactly. If you wait, you're done. You're
exactly. Well, and that's the whole thing about entrepreneurship, right? Is how quickly can you get it to market, right? How quickly are you responding to the dynamic in the environment and answering a call, right? Something that, and I don't mean a telephone call, obviously, like something that's missing, right? So that's pretty amazing. So, and what was the response? Like, you basically had to change all your distributors and stuff too, right?
We did. We went online. We did. Now you can buy them online too. But yeah, it's just our whole model got flipped upside down. So I don't know if it's ever going to go back. That's the kind of beauty of this. And, you learn different ways to do things, and you have to. And yeah, it's just what we do. So
is this a new division of the company then?
It's a new product line. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's so cool. And I love the fact that this is the beauty of actually working with family, right? Is that you could say you did it with your brothers.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, this was a team effort, definitely a family effort.
I
As
can
we
imagine.
said, yeah, yeah. Oh, we would have weekly Zoom meetings with all of our folks across the United States, and everyone's like, "Oh yeah, there's like 100 of us on this Zoom meeting." It was crazy, and we
Wow.
really kind of designed this whole product line together. So it's good.
Oh, I love that. Oh, that's so amazing. So talk to me a little bit about where you get your motivation from. Like when you think about, your life and the different choices that you've made, like, is it just innate to who you are, or like what makes you motivated?
Me, I don't know. I guess it's kind of always been just I wake up and just one foot in front of the other, and I'm always one that doesn't take no, especially when you tell me no. I'm
Mhm.
always like, no, I'm going to give you yes. I swear to you. I'm going to figure out a way to do it. I'm really determined. And I think I got that from my family just in general. But I don't know. This is kind of a good quotation. I'm going to use one here that I just learned that I like is try not to become a person of success, but rather try to become a person of value.
I love that. Yeah, I'm on
So,
board with that comment.
you
Yeah,
know who said it?
who did?
Albert Einstein.
Oh, did he?
Hmm.
I love that. I do a values workshop, and so I really love that quote a lot because it's true. I mean, each person can define success the way they want to. Success is just based upon about how you feel, not about external views and things like that. And it's based upon what you value yourself. That's so cool. I love that. Great suggestion, Kristin.
Oh, good, Michelle.
So when you every day, like, because you're a mom, and I want to talk about this a little bit because there was never the luxury for you, in part because it's a family owned business, to just be like, to sit on your laurels and actually be like, oh, no big deal. I'll just, come back on maternity leave whenever I feel like it. Right.
Yes.
I'd love for you to speak a little bit about, how you basically made it through a lot of those like child rearing times, having a full-time job. And by the way, you were driving at least an hour to and from work, um,
Yep.
and traveling. So can you talk a little bit about that? Because I'd love to hear a little bit more about that. And I'm sure our audience
Sure.
will too.
Sure. A support network, right? Oh my God. It's just this lovely support network, and I'm so grateful for it. And I just spent a week with my mom, and that's talk about support network.
Yeah.
Just really lucky. I live in Southern California, and even with my brothers, we always pinch hit for each other, but we're hard on each other too.
Hmm.
My husband, okay, things are different roles in my family. So, yes, he didn't know it. I didn't know at the time, but I'm the one that goes to work and has the 9 to 5 job. And he's actually the one who has been around for our kids more and has really raised our kids. Not that I haven't raised them,
Yes.
but it's been the one that takes them to school, walks them to school, is more involved in that route. And it's interesting, just speaking with my daughter the other day, who's 18. She said, when this all started happening, I went to kindergarten and dad was the one that took me,
Yeah,
and then
totally.
mom would meet up with us, but PTA meetings were always at 10 a.m. And I would get kind of pissed because I'm like, well, I can't make a
I
10
work.
a.m. meeting.
Yeah,
There was
exactly.
no Zoom at that time. And,
Exactly.
and I worked in LA and I live in Orange County, and yeah, so we worked it out, but I meant it's just your network,
Mhm.
and just I love them, and I have to say hats off to my husband, for really kind of
Go,
saying this.
Bob.
I know, Bob, this really is what he did, and he did such a good, he's still doing a good job at it, and you
He's
know,
amazing.
yeah, it's just something good to show kids that it doesn't always have to be one way or the other, and no way is the right way to do things, so
Well, I mean, I would say that even though you were traveling and, Bob took a more active role in the morning routines or whatever, like, you are so present with your children. And yeah, these are just decisions that need to be made. And I think it speaks to the can we have it all? Right.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I
it's
think
true.
that it's funny because I also used to think we could have it all, right? But I do feel like you can have it all, but within making choices that fit what you want, right?
Absolutely. Oh gosh, yeah. No, I had to learn that I couldn't be everywhere at once, and
Hmm.
then you got to say no.
Hmm.
And, and I felt really bad that I wasn't that PTA mom, But like
Because
I
you're
said,
such a natural to be that PTA mom, because you're like
oh yeah.
so creative and you're a baker and oh my Lord, organized.
Yeah, oh my gosh, how funny. No, that would be me. And my daughter told me the other day, Mom, oh, you'd be so annoying. And thank goodness you didn't. So
And thank you, Cassandra. Oh
yeah,
gosh, that's so funny.
yeah.
Well, I think it's important that we talk about it because I think I mean, I'm not in your day-to-day life because obviously we don't live close enough to each other, but I think you do an amazing job of managing it all. Like, I mean, just knowing you haven't just been traveling domestically, like when you talked about like for 2 years, doing this thing in a mobile van. I mean, you were traveling internationally too.
Oh yeah.
So tell me a little bit about that. Like, how did the international part kind of take place in a domestic company that deals mostly with commercial contracts? So
Okay.
I never knew.
Oh yeah, no, it's all interesting. I love to travel. I have a complete travel bug from my parents and everything, and I'm really thankful. My family figured experiences were better than things always, and so it was always a choice: do you want to go somewhere, or do you want something? And I'd always
Mm-hmm.
go, I want to go somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
So I always was hands up here too at my company is when we could do something international. And it's interesting you mentioned this to me because a lot of our designs, the designs I took was from going international and saying, this is really
Interesting.
something interesting and we don't do it here in the United States yet.
Mm-hmm.
So even the plumbing world sounds weird, but the plumbing's different in Europe and it's so
Very.
much forward thinking. And now even you had mentioned in the beginning that I'm in behavioral health care, and behavioral health care is such a big issue, and especially with COVID. And I make these safe bathrooms now, but I work with designers now from around the world. And a lot of these ideas don't just generate here in the United States, it generates everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So my travels to Europe, to the UK, I would go to shows in Frankfurt every year and
Uh-huh.
just, find new ideas and concepts and try to see if we can adapt them. So
I have
yeah.
a question about, when you're talking about, forward thinking, because I agree, like particularly in Japan, they always had like some very amazing
Yes,
toilet,
plumbing products.
yeah, plumbing product. I mean, I always
Yes,
was just
let's
like,
talk about the
wow,
bidet.
exactly. I'm like, it's not just a boring bidet, they got it all. It's all
Oh
of it.
yeah.
And more people have them here because obviously they started rolling them out here probably differently. But, how many, like, what are the complications that go into like taking a product that seems so easy? Like, why can't we just do that here? How come we
Oh
don't do
gosh.
it here? Like, I mean, I know so many people basically do that with cars, whatever it might be. Is it legalities or what?
It's everything. Legalities are huge. I do medical devices, so FDA, I get involved with that sometimes. That one's a whole other ball of wax. Every country doesn't, they have their own ideas and they want to keep the proprietary too sometimes, which I completely understand. But adaptability. So in the plumbing world, the big issues for us is metric versus imperial,
Mm,
and actually our system. So our
mm,
plumbing system is actually different than it is in Germany. It's different than it is in England, different than it is in Japan. And you don't think about that, but just like roads and, our infrastructure is different. So
super
you have to adapt
interesting.
it. Yeah,
Can you tell me what behavioral healthcare means so that
sure.
way, or tell us,
Okay.
just so that we're clear? Because I see some of the things that you've been doing on LinkedIn, and there's such a crossover to a lot of different areas. So we're clear.
Sure. Now, behavioral health care is kind of a fancy new name for mental health. Um, it's for facilities, and it used to be just addiction. We kind of knew as alcoholism, or maybe for depression, or something that someone gets unfortunately institutionalized. And I mentioned that I work a lot in correctional. So there's this huge crossover between correctional now and mental health, and trying to make things more adaptable, more user-friendly, more like something you have in your house, something more restorative
Mhm.
and design. So that's what we're trying to do, is make these bathrooms, that's what I mainly work on, is try to make them so they're safe but normal.
Mm.
And
So that
behavioral health
have the
care is
familiarity, like, so say for example, if
familiarity.
you have like
Yep,
Alzheimer's or something. Okay,
yep,
interesting.
yep. And colors are a big issue too in Alzheimer's, and
Mhm.
Yeah, contrast and working with all those different environments. So when you work in plumbing, it sounds really weird, but I have to adapt to what's called ADA, which is Americans and Disabilities, ligature resistance, which means you can't harm yourself in the bathroom, you can't hang yourself, and it's horrible to get into this, but I've had to get into it even with the teen population, the tween population, all of that, schools, you know, trying to make it look normalized. And then things too that they can't break, they got to be easy to maintain. So it's kind of an interesting design matrix that we have to put together, products that really fit into, you know, click off a lot of boxes. So
yeah, and the interesting thing about that is that if you can follow all those guidelines and still make it look good,
exactly,
I mean, that's super.
You got it.
Right, you know,
and price point, it's got to be priced right, you know. That's another thing, and delivered on time.
Exactly,
you know?
Don't forget about that. Exactly.
No.
Don't deliver it on time, that order's gone.
Yep.
So so what I would love to know is that you know, for women that are on this call that have always thought about doing something, you know, but haven't moved forward, what would the guidance be that you would give to them?
Oh gosh, just don't be afraid. You know, that's the biggest thing. I think people are just afraid to take the next step. And, you know, I don't know. It's just, I've never been I used to actually be afraid. And then I just, you know, got more confidence. And I think that comes with confidence, security too, and what you're doing. And just knowledge, know a lot about what you're going into and what you're doing. And if you become the expert, and like I kind of mentioned before too, just don't burn bridges. Always treat everyone with respect, you know,
Absolutely.
and empathy.
Yeah,
you know?
I agree with you. Yeah.
And then just move forward.
So my question for you is, you know, if there would be a dream, and say it doesn't have to actually be connected to what you're currently doing, but if there would be a dream that you would want to bring forward, what would it be?
Well, right now, one of my dreams, I work a lot with the VAs, with veterans, and it's really dear to my heart because of just what we talked about, behavioral health care. And I think they were an underserved population too.
Yes.
And so my big thing, and this is what I'm working on right now, is how to make safe environments that are restorative for the veterans population. That's been kind of my thing right now. On a big scale too, I'm all about water. So I'm always about healthy, safe water and water conservation.
Yes.
Okay, it's such a resource we have. And just in plumbing, you know, I see it every day, is just, you know, just a lot of waste with water.
So what would you say is the biggest culprit for waste in water? Showers or what?
Farming.
Oh yeah, of course.
Farming. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, but we're trying to make a difference too with water. Oh, back to my Brita thing. So this is where we come full circle, by the way.
So funny.
So get this. So I was working, like I mentioned, you know, launching the Brita water filter. Well, now when you go to the airport, you go to schools, we make those what are called bottle fillers.
Yeah, I've seen them.
So that now is our company.
Oh, that's your company too? Oh,
yeah, we make bottle fillers.
I love that.
So they fill up water, and they have filtration systems in them, and, you know, clean water, so you don't use. And another big thing, if I could, I guess I have all these things I want to help the environment with, is no more bottled water, like plastic bottles. They're terrible. So ruined our, you know, so many countries and our own country, and just even hormones with girls, and, you know, with bottled water. So yeah, that's another one of my big things.
Solutions with bottled water to remove the bottled water from our lives.
There is.
And I agree with you. Like, those are three somewhat tangible. I mean, the farming thing is like pretty huge.
Like, I know. Well, those are water rights and some other things I can't get into.
Those are there's some other people that are really trying to address that right now, but we could definitely get on the bandwagon with that. So before we close out, is there anything that you would like to leave with our audience? You've shared some pretty amazing nuggets, and I love the wisdom that you've shared.
Oh, thank you. No, I don't know. I'm gonna say this. This is what I like to leave on: is your strength is your own knowledge. You know,
Mm-hmm.
That's
I
kind of
agree
been
with
one of
you.
my mantras too. So
Yeah, I agree. You know, I'll never forget my first boss out of school used to always say to me at Turner, he'd be like, I'm going to share this with you, and I will say it again and again. Knowledge is power. Whatever comes across your desk, and back then, of course, there was the fax machine and the Xerox machine, you know, and
the
so
telex.
yeah,
Did you have a telex?
yeah,
Yeah.
telex. Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. Of course, because I did international. So yeah, so it was everything is so important that we read everything so that we're educated and knowledgeable. So I completely agree with you. I want to thank you for your time. I so appreciate you. Thank God take two of our audio worked this time around.
Yay.
Yay.
I always do this. Here's my thumbs up. Yay.
Woo!
Okay.
Woo! So, friends, Kristin, can you please tell people where they could reach you and where they could find out more information about Morris Group International or Whitehall or Neo Metro? Because there might be somebody that is out there that we're not aware of that is dealing with commercial plumbing at this present time.
Sure, we are on all the normal new, feeds. So Instagram is probably the big one for Neo Metro, really. So it's me. I can't remember it. I'll have to post it on here what it is. I have my own personal one.
Yeah.
But yeah, on our website. So it's actually do this. My website's probably the best one, but neo-metro.com. So that's where you can kind of start. And then for Whitehall, it's whitehallmfg.com. So
perfect. Well, Kristin Morris, you are a wealth of knowledge, and I am Morris Kahle. Sorry, Bob.
I know he would. I'm known as K2.
He would definitely take that thumbs up and hit me over the head. I am so grateful for your time and for you sharing so openly with us. And just as a reminder, because I was so discombobulated when we first started to re-record, I forgot to introduce what Opportunity Knocks is. But we know that it's a podcast that weekly we celebrate different female entrepreneurs on how they take, make, create, and evaluate opportunities. And Kristin is an amazing example of that. So again, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I love you.
Me too. Bye.
Bye.